some people think you can just pick up anything and just be the best at it right away. I think that's irrational confidence.
What would you say blocks most people from doing what they want to do?
The biggest thing is comfort. I truly believe you can't be successful without struggling. Having a lot of money shouldn't be the end goal for your success. It should be the relationships that you form, how you feel as a person, as well as the memories and the teachings that you leave with other people. I think that's a big thing. Everyone has their own ideology of their own self and how they think others perceive them, but it's completely different. You create the scenarios in your own head where you force yourself to have a chip on your shoulder so that you can walk with pride and walk with a sense of respect for yourself, and other people have to respect me. Because if you don't think that people should respect you, why would they?
Hey everyone, welcome to the Mindset Journaling podcast, where we deep dive into the mindsets of our guests to help you think, learn, and understand better so that you can become the best version of yourself. Today, I'm very excited to introduce and speak with our guest today. I believe that this person can be an inspiration and can help a lot of people out there in terms of their mindset and just have a better outlook and perspective on life. This person is someone who I respect a lot and is one of the most hardworking and disciplined person I know. Henry, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Vincent. Like, the intro was surreal. I can't even put into words, but glad to be here. Glad to be the first guest, pretty overwhelming, but just excited to get started.
Amazing. Well, thank you for your time. Well, I want to start off by talking to you specifically about your work ethic and your discipline. So I've known you for some time now.
Yeah, quite a while.
Quite a while
Yeah,
from
quite
high
a
school,
while,
right?
yeah.
It's pretty impressive and incredible how you can stay so motivated and dedicated to working on whatever business you're doing, your entrepreneurial ventures, the ideas that you have, and whatever you set your mind to. And I just want to ask the first question is, how do you stay so consistent and motivated in what you do and what you put your mind to day in and day out, even when there are times where it's not looking too good, you're struggling, like things, you just have like a negative perspective, everything's like not going according to plan. I want to understand, I want to deep dive into your mind, like what is your mindset on how you push through and how you can maintain that level of consistency at a high degree?
I think initially for me, I always had the sort of ideology where you have to work hard for something. And when you want to work hard for something, it requires dedication, it requires time, it requires effort. So especially, I feel like the biggest way to get that started is in the gym, because when you work out, it's the biggest forming discipline. When you're going into the gym, you're not going to see the results day in and day out. It's a long period of effort, time, and dedication to build your craft in your body, to perfect it to a way where you're able to look at the end result and be satisfied with what you have. And then a big thing is, like, while I'm in the gym, while I'm working on some business venture, it's just the assurance in my mind where no one cares. You have to go to work. No one cares. Go to work.
Yeah.
I think like a big reference for that is Kevin Durant said it. Whatever you're going through, other people are going through far worse situations. If you have to dwell on whatever situation you're currently in, there's no one feeling sorry for yourself. There's no point. Because you can feel sorry for yourself, but other people aren't going to feel sorry for you. So it's like, realistically, you're only self-depreciating your own efforts in your mind. So if you're putting that limitation on yourself while the whole rest of the world's already putting limitations on you, like, it's a losing battle. When realistically, you're fighting against yourself and you're fighting against other people.
Yeah, that's facts. To quote you on that, like, just no one cares, just do the work. Like, a big like realization I had some time ago was, realistically, no one cares about you as much as yourself. And then once I've realized that, oh, let me just do the thing, let me just start this thing, let me just talk to this person, let me just start or take that risk. Because at the end of the day, people will judge you if you fail, and people will judge you if you succeed.
People will judge you regardless. Like, whatever you do, people will judge you for it. It may not even be a bad thing that they're judging you, but they have some perception of how you are as a person. And if you do something that deviates from their perception of that, they're judging you for it. Like, that's why a big thing is like first impressions, because people's first impression of you is like, they will take that initial interaction and they'll run with it.
Oh, for sure. Even though some people might be like, hey, your first impression is like whatever, you can always build it up, but that initial first impression is what sets the tone for like everything.
Yeah, it literally sets the tone for like how you interact with that person and how that other person will speak about you to other people. So if
Yeah.
they're introducing you to their group of friends or their family or significant other, whatever the case may be, their initial perception of you has a big impact on how you get portrayed to those other people, which in turn then affects you because then you start reflecting on how you actually are because everyone has their own ideology of their own self and how they think others perceive them, but it's completely different.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Like you have it, I have it. Like how I think myself is completely different from how you view me and how the audience would view me.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's a great point. 100% agree. Moving forward, would you say that going to the gym also builds you self confidence? Because I've known you for some time. I believe, or I portray you as someone who is very self confident in themselves. Like you just have that demeanor, like, yes, like I know I can do this. How would you say you built that self confidence and where did that come from?
I feel that there's two facets to this. One, it depends on your character. Some people are naturally confident, or it's just they believe in their own abilities regardless of whatever task or challenge they're faced with. Sometimes it could be a bit irrational where they have a rational confidence where they're just thinking like I could do anything that I put my mind to. Not in that sense where it's like that's a bad thing, but sometimes you also have to know your limitations, what you even what you don't think you're capable of. But it's like when you try something and you're not good at it, you can acknowledge that you're not good at it, but you're confident that you're able to get better. Some people think you can just pick up anything and just be the best at it right away. I think that's irrational confidence. Know the amount of work you're putting in. So it's like, how am I gonna let other people try and discredit me, even if it's not something about the gym? They're just trying to discredit my character when I know the limitations and the stuff that I had to push myself through just to get to where I am right now. You create the scenarios in your own head where you force yourself to have a chip on your shoulder so that you can walk with pride and walk with a sense of respect for yourself, and other people have to respect me. Because if you don't think that people should respect you, why would they?
That's a big one.
Yeah.
That's a big one. I think going back to the quote, even if you fail, you get judged. Even if you succeed, you get judged. Like, I think just off that quote alone, it made me remember and realize, like, hey, no one really cares about what you do, who you are, whatever you're starting, and what you think, right? So also to just realize that since no one cares, why wouldn't you have confidence
Exactly.
to do what you do? Because at the end of the day, it's like, it's your life, right? You can either live it regretting at the end of the day, like, oh, I should have done this, I should have done that, or start the thing, do the thing, talk to the person. You just have to have that confidence in yourself that at the end of the day, you don't regret it, and it doesn't matter what people think. Because honestly, people have very short attention span and memory.
Yes. People would overemphasize. Like for you, it's subjective. You probably overemphasize remembering something that to the other person may not seem significant.
Yeah.
So it's like, how are you gonna limit yourself? Obviously, it's easier said than done. Just being like, bro, forget everybody, just do what you want. Because you still have your own doubts. You're all human. It's still human nature to have your own doubts. But you also have to doubt your doubts. Because realistically, the amount of times you doubt yourself, you're just getting on your own head. But at the same time, no one's gonna knock you for trying. Well, like, why is it there's a stigma where people are really quick to condemn others for trying something, having a level of innovation, exploring new ways to better themselves? Like, I don't get it. It doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah. So going off that point, what would you say blocks most people from doing what they want to do? What do you think is blocking most people from taking that leap and not getting in their heads?
The biggest thing is comfort. People are too, like, they don't want to push the boundaries of their comfort level. Everybody wants to be comfortable, and it's like, obviously, who wouldn't want to be comfortable, but to actually like push yourself, to challenge yourself, to expand in new ways, you have to be outside of your comfort zone. You have to try things that you wouldn't have done.
There are so many people on this planet. It's kind of crazy. 8 billion people, right? And the more mind-boggling thing is to me is that each and every single one of us has our own perspective, has our own view of life, has our own experiences.
Mm-hmm.
Not a single pair or a group of people have lived the same experience,
Mm-hmm.
because even if they have, for example, they view things on a different level based on
Yeah.
their learnings and experiences and
Mm-hmm.
teachings, right? With that being said, each and every one of us also has a different view on how they view themselves and what they value themselves based off of,
100%.
right? So I just want to ask you, Henry, how would you perceive, judge, or like value yourself? And what should people be valuing themselves based off of to bring that self-confidence out?
For me, I value myself and how I perceive myself. I perceive myself as someone who's very dedicated, hardworking, innovative, and a person who won't be subjective to the norms, in the sense of just doing things that are what everybody does, the standard of things. Where I tend to question, like, if there's a standard for something, why should I do it? Why should I follow by these rules? Because how could I push the boundaries where I'm able to put myself in the best position to succeed? And I think other people should have that ideology. It's hard to basically ask people to have a similar ideology to me, because like you just said, we all have different perspectives. But in a way to position people to be the best version of themselves and to have that self-confidence, I think you should begin to question things. Aside from what I said before of pushing the boundaries and being uncomfortable, I think you should just question things. Question your behavior, question the way certain things are, question how you will picture your success. And that's another thing too, like imagery, envisioning it. If you say and you can see that path into your success, it's a lot easier than you just trace your step back. And even if you don't have that vision, you can't see how you're able to succeed. It just start planning it out, start mapping it out, start on what you know, and start on, okay, how can I expand on what I know so I can get to the path to where I want to be.
Mm-hmm.
Once you have that, I feel like the foundation will lay itself out. Because like if you start pinpointing things, you start writing things down, you start documenting, that sort of thinking, I feel like helps people understand. Because also when you're trying something new or you're trying to push a boundary or try a new thing, it's so overwhelming because there's so many
Oh,
steps,
100%.
and it's hard to envision getting it all because you're so pressured and thinking, oh, I also have to get this right in the first go, even though you'll struggle multiple times. So I feel like breaking it down into steps is a big way to actually not only just achieve your goals, but also helping you stay disciplined so that you don't give up right away.
I get it. Like your point about starting new things. Starting new things is always gonna be hard,
Mm-hmm.
and you don't realize how much of a mental and learning barrier you need to understand and learn once until you step your foot inside.
100%.
For example, like even this podcast, like I have no idea how to shoot videos, how to do audio. So even just yesterday, I spent like a considerable amount of time all morning trying to figure out and learn how to do audio, which is a field I have no idea in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what a gain is.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what like frequency levels or compressor is, or like I don't know much about
And
audio.
that's the thing too, like it's very commendable that you put yourself out to do that, and it's another thing that's also commendable that you're openly able to share that, like, I don't know this, but I'm still trying to learn it. And like it's fine that I don't know this, but it's like I know, like, you'll get to a point where like I can look back at when I didn't know this, and you can laugh.
Yeah.
Like that's how it is. You can always look back and reflect. Like that's another thing too. Once you get to a point of success, or even if you're not at that point where you're successful, you can always look back at your progress that you made and be able to reflect, and you can always have a sense of joy and like just smile at the progress that you made. It's such a surreal feeling, literally.
Yeah, I agree. I was talking to one of my friends the other day,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why I asked you this question, because he brought up a really we were talking, and then it made me realize a really like valuable point, which is the reason why I asked you, like, what do you think you value yourself off of?
Mm-hmm.
And that's why I asked with the self-confidence too as well. So we were having this chat, and this specific person, let's name him Rob.
Mm.
Me and Rob were chatting, and we were talking about finances and money, right? And Rob was in a very, we could just say, very stuck cycle. Let's just say like a typical working cycle, and obviously he's saving, but there's expenses, and you're not, you feel that you're not making progress even though you're working so hard in terms of finances, right? So then I try to help him and put him into a different perspective as like, I understand and I see that you're working so hard, and I get it. Like I feel for that because I understand how that feels too,
Yeah.
right? Because I can only speak on my experience, so I know how that feels. And we were talking, and what really made me realize something profound is just like, what do you value yourself off of? And in this case scenario, or even not even just Rob, for example, just like a lot of people, I think they value themselves off of the amount of money they have in their bank accounts. And to me, I did that a lot too. You would talk back during COVID time, you talk back like even like recently, let's say like 2 years or a year ago. My self-confidence or my like belief or like that feeling of like this is who I am was based off my bank account. So then we were talking and we are just like, I think a lot of people value themselves based off of money, which is understandable. But at the same time, if we can shift that mindset, because it's so volatile. Let's say you have $1 million in your bank account. That's what makes you happy. The next day you lose it all. Do you just lose all your self-confidence? Like, I try to base my own value and my own perspective on myself based on the experience and skill sets I have now. Right? I don't know if you base yourself off that as well, but for me, it's just like, what skills, what do I need to learn or figure out or do that I can feel confident about, even if I go broke the next day? Right?
I agree, because especially to that point too, I think I agree with your point where a lot of people value themselves based off the money they have. And I used to do that too until I started getting more in touch with my religion and I found God, and I knew that's like the only one who can judge me. Because come judgment day, then that's when I'll truly face the Creator, and then He'll truly see my Creator, like the spirits and contents within my heart. But religion aside, I think the example that you mentioned with the millionaire, I feel like once they, like, if they had $1 million in their bank account and they go broke, they'll be just as confident as they were when they had $1 million. Because, like you said, it's to get to that point. I'm assuming they would have some sort of skill that they utilize to be able to get to where they were. So it's like, once they have that skill, you can't take that skill away from them. So it may be harder for them to get back to whatever money they had in their bank account. They're going to utilize that skill or utilize something else in combination with what they already know. Because it always comes back to using what you know and then trying to expand off that to help you maximize your potential returns. So in that instance, let's say somebody's, let's use an example where nobody has, you're broke, you have no skills. So it's like you start thinking you're worth less because you have nothing essentially. But that shouldn't be the case. One, that's why I go back to religion. You should get in touch with yourself, because once you realize that you get in touch with a divine being, even if you're not focusing on Christianity, it makes you more aware that it's like you're not in control. So it's like whatever you do, you give it up to God. So then in instances where you're at rock bottom, realistically, there's nothing you can do. I just mean that it's beyond yourself. Like, obviously, there's still things that you can do to put yourself in a perspective where you can get yourself out of situations where you're not feeling like, because I'm literally at rock bottom, I'm worthless. But it's like, once you allow God, or you allow finding yourself, you allow your self-worth to be more than your monetary like value, essentially.
Yeah.
Because you start focusing on other things that bring you joy, and then what actually values you, like relationships, health, and your overall knowledge of yourself, your own self-health, your health for others. So I feel like if you put more weight into those other things, obviously it's not going to be like a direct correlation where you put more weight into those, you're going to have more money in your bank account. It's not going to be like that.
Yeah.
But you're going to focus less on it, it'll have it be less of an impact on your mental health and less stress in your life.
Yeah, no, 100% I agree. And this segues really nicely into our next topic, which I want to talk to you about money. Because I feel like there's so much talk about money, and it's such a big thing in our lives. But we have to understand that money is not the most important things in our lives. Right? So my question to you would be, how important do you think money is in everyone's or your lives in particular in relation to health, relationships, your mental well-being, your happiness, joy? How important is money, and how does it relate in those aspects?
I think money is very important in the sense where it's a means to get what you need. It's not something that you should collect and just thinking because I have a lot of money, I am better than other people. You can't attribute you having a lot of money to you being better than other people.
Yeah.
Like that's very prideful and very egotistical. That shouldn't be the case, because you can have a lot of money, but like you as a core person can still be terrible, or you don't have the relationships, or you're not in a position where you're healthy. Because you can put money above all those things until you get ill, so then health becomes on top of money.
Priority,
Your spouse breaks up with you, then your relationship gets put on top of money, and then you go into depression, then your mental health gets put on top of money. So there's many things where money is important. You got to use it, and it's going to be a staple within our lives. You have to use it, and you have to strive for it in a sense to be able to get successful. But having a lot of money shouldn't be the end goal for your success. It should be the relationships you form, how you feel as a person, as well as the memories and the teachings that you leave with other people. I think that's a big thing.
For me, going back, I always reference COVID days, because I feel like during that COVID moment was when I really started to shift and change. I would even say there's a pre-COVID and post-COVID Vincent. It's like pre-COVID Vincent was a bit wild, very
Can you elaborate?
really rebellious.
Yeah.
Right. And then post-COVID Vincent is like, hey, I started growing up and realizing a lot of things, because we had a lot of time. Like I had a lot of time just to think, sit, go on walks and just talk, and just like understand like what am I really doing? Because it got to the point, if we're giving a little background story, is during COVID time, all I did for a solid like 3-4 months was I woke up late, hopped on games, ate for a bit, went outside to play ball for, let's say, 4 hours, go on a walk, come back, play games again till like 3-4 a.m. And rinse and repeat. And I'm not lying when I literally say I did this same routine for roughly around 2 or 3 months. And it got to the point where one day I woke up, like you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the washroom. That's what I did. So I woke up at 8 a.m., which is really early for me at the time, because I was waking up at 2, 3.
No, I hear that. Like I'll get into my own quarantine story.
Like I woke up that late, so I went to the washroom, and mind you, my room, which is my washroom, is less than a meter, so it's probably like 2 steps. I got out of the washroom and I'm walking into my room, and I collapsed. When I say like
you pass out, like
I didn't pass out, but if you think like, you ever watch Toy Story when Andy walks in, all the dolls just fall. That's literally what happened.
No, that's funny.
Like that's that's literally the best way I can describe it. That literally what happened. I walked out. I'm done using the washroom. I take a step. I'm in the middle of the hallway. Mind you, it's like you could put 2 rulers beside each other, and that's the width of my hallway. I take 1 step, I'm in the middle, and I drop. Like Andy just walked, like I pretzel.
He folded, man.
I folded. Fell down, head banged on the ground, and I'm like cross-legged, and my head's like hitting the ground. And I realized in that moment, I was like, number one, this was crazy. I was like, whoa. Like my legs just gave out. And number 2 was like, yo, I didn't feel any pain.
You didn't feel any pain?
No.
What? There's no way, like... Nah,
it was just like straight like contact. Like imagine throwing a rock on a rock. Like you can like imagine or feel that contact, right? But I was waiting for a solid 30 seconds. I'm like, all right,
when's it gonna
hit? Like, maybe it was just a delayed reaction. Like when's it gonna hit? It just never hit. And the craziest part is I was stuck there for a solid 2 minutes. I'm like, yo, I can't move.
Really?
Yo, if my parents walked into the hallway, like at that moment,
I'm surprised they didn't, bro. Like if my parents,
it was a loud bang.
yeah, like
too.
a
I
loud
was
bang.
actually surprised.
It's not middle of the night, but 8 a.m. I'm like, yo, they would have walked up like, yo, what's going on? Why is this guy on the floor? like, why are you on the floor?
Because I was actually genuinely, number one, surprised. And number two, I'm like, yo, I'm actually stuck. Like, I can't move. And then ever since then, obviously, I got an earful from my grandparents and my parents as well. And then I didn't go back to living that lifestyle to that extreme.
Mm-hmm.
But from that moment, I really prioritized health. And that's when I realized, like, hey, I should be putting my health as one of my number one priorities. Because you can make a load of money. But at the end of the day, if your health is nothing, that money doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
It's like going back to what we were talking about before. It's like, how do you value yourself off of? If you value yourself off of money, one day you can be the happiest, most self-confident person. The next day you lose it, it's game over.
Mm-hmm.
Where did all that confidence go? It's like the volatility, the bipolarness in how you value yourself it's unstable,
Yeah,
right?
it is unstable.
So how I started to view money was, what was my definition of money? So my definition of money changed when that happened, because I was now thinking, okay, health should be my number one priority above money, but money is just a means of a tool,
Mm-hmm.
right? Money itself has no
No value, bro.
no value.
No
Like, I can't be like, this is $50. I'm an amazing speaker, right? It is just a means of a tool for an exchange, because money is, in a sense, as well, currency.
Yeah.
It's just an exchange of things. You have $50. $50 will buy you this much. I get $50 worth of whatever goods or services,
Mm-hmm.
right? So there's no real value on paper money or numbers in a bank account, which is why I want to hear from you now, Henry. Is like, what is your definition of money, and where do you place it in your priority list?
I define money as like a means to, like you said, it's a tool. It's a tool we utilize to get to places, to get things that most of the times we want, but also things we need. Like you said, I could have a $50 bill, and I could use that to fill up my car for gas. And like, yo, I need gas to get to places.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that when I have that $50, it's invaluable, because like, yo, I need gas to be able to get to places where I need to be, whereas like the gym or meetings or whatever the case may be.
Yeah.
But in terms of like the ranking for money within the big three, big four, I think, like you said before, and you alluded to, health is number one, relationships number two, your own self-interest is number three, and then money's fourth.
Oh,
Even though it's very hard, and I used to not look at it like that. I used to put like money above everything.
Yeah.
I used to think, bro.
I used to do that
You
too.
you see the because it's also like the hustler's mindset. Where like, yo, you have to get the bag by any means. You can get to the bag, but by any means really isn't necessarily a good thing. Because if you're doing some shady things, you're getting to the bag by like scamming people, or like doing things where you have to like put yourself in harm's way, put other people in harm's way. You're putting a damper, or you're putting them in a position where people have to be uncomfortable. It's not a good thing. It's not a good thing, I believe. You know. So I still think money is a good way. It's a good tool that you have to use, and it's a big staple that everybody has.
So then, because there is also a lot of negative connotation around money for, let's say, both, even those who understand and those who don't understand how really money works, right? Since there's so much negative connotation around money, I feel like there's so much, hate's not the right word, but it's like people think money is greedy, money is dirty, or like whenever they look at someone, let's say, who has a lot of money or wealth, they're like, how did they get this? Like, why can't that be me as well, right? So I also want to quickly discuss and talk a little bit about, like, where do you think that negative connotation around money comes from? Because once again, like we both said, money is not, it has no value in it itself. It's an exchange of a median, right? You cannot base your value off fluctuating numbers that necessarily means nothing if you don't use it,
It's ridiculous.
right?
Yeah.
With so many negative outlook or perspective towards money, where do you think that comes from, and how can people like shift their mindset?
I think it mainly stems from the media. It's the content you consume. It's not even just the media. I'll get to that, but it's also like the economy, how things are structured. Things are structured in a way within an economy, within a society where you need money for things. You want to buy groceries, you need money. You want to buy a house, you need money. You want to buy a car, you need money. Like, and the thing is, like, you have that where you have to balance between the needs, the stuff you need money for, and then the wants, the stuff you want to have.
Yeah.
And then, like I said, with the hustler's mindset, that the media propaganda is shoved down your face, depending on who you follow within your social media platforms or within the news, where they strive for ways for you to get money quick, or they plaster money and put money on a pedestal. Like, once you have money, you are better than everybody else, when that's not the case. You may have more money than that person. You may have more possessions, but how you determine being better than someone else based on the amount of possessions you have, that's not the meaning of life. So it's like, you can obviously put money on a pedestal. You just can't have it be the end all be all where it's above everything else in your life. And if you don't have money, you don't have meaning. So once you find, and obviously it's easier said than done, being like, when people who have a significant amount of money being like, oh, money's nothing to me. Because when you're in that perspective where you have a lot of money, obviously it's going to seem like nothing to you because you've actually found those values and those other things. But when you don't have a lot of money, and even if you're still striving to get money, if once you realize and you put emphasis into other things, the journey towards the wealth, it'd be much easier because you're not so stressed and so hell-bent on getting money, even though it's a necessity, but it's not something that you put as the forefront.
It's just like having that scarcity mindset of, where's this money gonna go, and where am I gonna have the sufficient funds to fill up my car tomorrow, or get groceries for the week, or help pay for rent, right? So I also think that because the system, in a sense, well, this is just my opinion, doesn't work in our favor, I think the negative connotation around money stems from not having enough. And once they see people have enough, they're thinking to themselves, how did this person get this much? Why do they have this much when everyone else around them is, like, for example, struggling, or like not being able to pay for certain things, or not being able to go on a vacation because they cannot necessarily afford to, which is a totally different question now, because and now if we're talking about affords versus wants versus you can buy, those are three different things.
Yeah, literally.
Those are literally three different things.
Talk to people that don't know how to use a credit card. Those are three different things.
Those are literally three different things, right? You can buy something $50, fill up gas. I can buy it. I might not have the funds today, or I might have the funds today. I can buy it, but can I afford it? Is the bigger question, right? Now, affording is a different meaning, as in how I like to think about it is, can you spend this amount of money and still be comfortable after?
Yes.
Very
good point.
Let's say I'll buy a house. I'll put a down payment. It's all I have. I can buy it. Can I afford it?
No.
Next month, it's game over.
Bro, like, you get the first, not even just the full rent and not the full first rent, but you see the utilities and the mortgage, and you're like, yeah, I'm gonna be on the streets soon. I'm gonna be on the streets.
And that's the thing too. It's like, people don't understand that they only view money as the number, but they also don't view it as time and energy spent getting it, and as well as time and energy spent after spending it. Right? I'll give a quick example. You work a minimum wage job. You work, let's say, 40 hours, 9 to 5. You get a paycheck. I don't know how much that would be. Let me just put a number. Bi-weekly, 1,500 Canadian dollars. 1,500. You go out and buy, let's say, fancy clothes, going out to play, going out, spending expensive dinners, etc. Understand, I'm not shaming you. I'm not saying anything. Like, don't do that. This is your life. But at the same time, I want you to understand that you spent that amount of time working, let's say 2 weeks of full time, 9 to 5, 40 hours a week, to spend this much amount of money on this. Do you think it was worth it? Understand that every single dollar has time and energy and effort put into it. I'll spend $100, but just know that $100 was me running around
6 hours at
running around the restaurant
McDonald's or
serving people
something,
for
you know?
one day,
Yeah.
right? So we also have to think about money is also just a store of value, as in you store and you exchange your time and energy for money, which I don't think a lot of people necessarily think about. And that's the scary thing. That's why I feel like so many people just spend, but they don't really think about. I put in, like, I just worked 40 hours last week and I got this much amount of money. It was hard work.
Yeah.
So do I really want to spend my hard work for this?
Yeah.
Once again, going back to affording wants and buys, can you afford it? Is it worth it even? And just be mindful of what you spend it on, right?
Being mindful of what you spend is a big thing, because like you said with the point, you're putting your time, your energy, your effort, even the things that you want to do, or you feel like you can splurge a little, you can take yourself out to eat or whatever, buy the nice clothes. It shouldn't be a reoccurring thing, because like at the end of the day, like whatever job you had that is established, like eventually you want to get to a point where you're making money work for you. You're not working for the money.
You have to make sure it's sustainable.
You have to make sure it's sustainable. But it's like not everybody has that luxury of making money work for you, or even understand
100%.
how to get there. And like, so right now they're working jobs where they're working for money. They're exchanging their time for money. Like you said, do you really want to be spending all the effort and the time you just put in at your job for something that you could blow through in mere minutes, hours, seconds? It's insane. Like, to even put it into perspective, for people to not understand that, or not understand the concept of, like you said, oh, I can obviously buy it, but can I afford it? Like, can I afford to, like, let's say if I blow through my entire paycheck, can I sustain my way of living for the next 2 weeks until I get my next paycheck?
And I think a majority of people are not even forward looking, as in, like, sure, I'll spend it. I'll do this. I'll spend this amount of money. I work this amount of hours. But really, do you want to keep repeating that cycle? Do you want to keep doing what you're doing? Because the majority of people, number one, just work for their money, and they don't actually enjoy what they do.
Of course.
So another factor is like, do you might be able to afford it, but do you really, realistically, this is like a mental and happiness factor now. It's just like, do you really want to keep doing this to afford this type of lifestyle? Right? And I feel like people as well they forget about that factor, and they just think about the money. For example, you make a lot of money, you're doing well, you can afford these fancy cars, vacations, clothes, luxuries, etc., going out. But do you actually like what you do? So then now there's a dynamic, and if we're going back to the scale or the ladder of importance of money, I feel like number one for me is health.
Yeah.
Because without health, you are nothing. You will spend your whole life's worth to fix your health at the end of the day.
Yeah, literally.
Because if you're not well, money doesn't mean anything. Money literally doesn't mean anything. That's my example. Like,
you
my COVID
face planting. You're Andy from Toy Story. That was crazy.
Now, when I realized
and no pain. Yo,
no pain.
At that point, you should have went into the gym, bro. You could have got a full.
That's when I
full
realized
pumping.
something was wrong. I was like, oh my god, if I were to pass away the next day, or if I were to go to the hospital, and God forbid that hospital bill goes like crazy, my money, like, I worked, let's say, my savings of the last year is just gone. It's just gone. But then you have to know that health, at least for me, is number one. Second is relationships. This year, I like to have goals for the year, or words of the year.
Yeah, I remember that.
You remember that, right?
Yeah, I remember that.
So I started this like 2-3 years ago, but this year's goal was mainly building meaningful relationships. So this year I really started to emphasize and try to build, like I said, more meaningful relationships, get to know people more. Because at the end of the day, my life saying, my life motto is I'd rather have more regrets doing than not doing,
Facts.
right? Because I don't want to get to the end of my life and regret it in a sense. For example, I don't have my phone on me, but I changed my wallpaper to be, you are the author of your life story. And I always think back at the end of the day, at the end of my life, when I have grandkids, what type of story would I want to tell them about their grandpa? I want to tell them about all the crazy things I did,
Literally.
all the ups, the downs, and all the happy and fun and exciting moments I had, rather than, oh, I was too scared to do this, so I just played it safe.
And that's another thing too, because it feels like when you get to that point where you're at an old age and you're able to reflect back in your life, you feel satisfied because of what you accomplished, because you know the amount of stuff you had to go through. I truly believe you can't be successful without struggling.
You have to fail your way up.
You have to fail. You have to struggle, because it teaches you to understand that you shouldn't be afraid to fail. You should actually look forward to it. So then that's where there's growth and learning opportunities to happen. So then when you're able to get to that point where you're looking back on your life story, you put meaning into the relationships and the stuff that you learned along the way. Like I said, you're able to pass on the knowledge and experience to the next generation. So like obviously you can pass down an inheritance, but what are they going to do with inheritance if they don't know how to utilize skills? They could just have money but not know what to do with the
Think
money.
about lottery winners.
Lottery winners, bro, they go bankrupt because they're still adapting their same habits.
Because they don't have the skill sets to handle that.
Yeah, literally.
Right?
Because most people think, oh, if I get $1 million, if I won the lottery today, oh, I'm doing this. Because you're just thinking, oh, I'm gonna spend, instead of thinking, okay, how can I stretch this out to make it last my entire lifetime, or if not, last my spouse or my children's lifetime. You know, find ways to actually multiply it. That's where it comes back to asking questions. Like, okay, I just won the lottery. Obviously, you can't ask why, because that's the lottery. You know, like you're not gonna ask why did I win the lottery. If you ask why did you won the lottery,
People be like, damn, I won the lottery.
yeah, if I won the lottery, I'm like, yo, that's crazy. Yeah, but that's crazy. I was like, there's no way I won. I'm like, yo, this the right ticket? Is it this the one? Anyways, so back to the point. I was like, yo, if you won the lottery, you're not gonna ask why, but you're gonna ask, okay, how can I make this last so I don't have to work again and I can actually do stuff that I enjoy? Because like you said before, most people are just working their jobs to do things that to get the money, even though they don't enjoy what they're doing.
Yeah.
Obviously, people just want, like, the ideal goal for most people is to work in a profession that they actually enjoy doing, and the monetary compensation is good enough where there's not a trade-off where they have to trade their actual love for what they're doing as opposed to making more money. You know, so if you're able to, like, for the lottery winner, you get to that point where you don't have to worry about money, so you can actually focus on things you enjoy.
Yeah.
Most people don't have that luxury, so then they're stuck in that cycle, like you mentioned before, where they're chasing the check to be able to satisfy their needs, because they won't be able to actually provide that satisfaction because of their job, because they focused on the money as opposed to the actual enjoyment of the job.
Yeah. And here's the thing, though, too. If we're relating back to lottery winners, it's like the reason why so many lottery winners go broke or they lose all that money later down the road is just like because they weren't prepared for it, and they couldn't adapt so quickly to what has just happened. Because life is just a progression. Like, you learn skills, you gain, you fail. We talk about failure. Don't be afraid to fail, because failing is you learning. Literally, you're going to be learning all through your life. So what does that mean? You're going to be failing all through your life as well, right? But I think for some certain people, if they aren't ready or they haven't gained the skill sets to receive that, and if we're being religious and we're talking about God now, it's like, I think that God has a time for you, but the reason why you don't have what you want right now is because God is putting you through trials and tribulations. He's testing you to see if you're even worthy of it, and to help you gain and build that skill set to obtain it. Right? That takes time. Like, you got to build those stepping stones.
Yeah, you're
Which is
right.
why I also think, like, the whole point of the podcast is like everything starts with your mind. You have to question everything. You got to develop your mindset. And then from developing your mindset, you know what to think. You have better understanding. You can build those foundations on the life you want to build.
Yeah, I agree. I also just want to comment on your point too, because like we mentioned before with God, God puts you in a position for you to succeed, and if He doesn't, then it's not part. Then it's part of His plan.
Mm-hmm.
He has you in the foundation where He knows what the appropriate path is for you, and most people aren't able to come to terms with that. Like I said before, and most people aren't able to understand that it's beyond them, it's beyond their control. It's up to the divine intervention of God.
Yeah.
So personally, I think how I approach certain situations where it's like if things don't go my way, I'm like, okay, it's part of God's plan. He didn't want me to do this because He has something greater planned for me. Even for personal relationships, sometimes I don't pursue certain relationships because I know I'm not ready to be in a position to lead them in a successful marriage or relationship. So I'm like, God, if she will be willing to wait for me, put her in my life. If she's not, and Lord, when I am ready and I'm able to be in a position to lead her, please then bring that woman of God towards me.
Mm-hmm.
I literally have it in my phone. I pray this almost every day. By 2030, I would be A, out of this country, B, the man enough to be committed to my faith, to lead my woman out of this country and be able to provide and lead her so that she is devoted in her faith, and then I can install the teachings of the faith onto her and be able to have a successful life.
That's
By
beautiful,
2030, man. By 2030.
That's amazing, man.
By 2030,
We
it's
got
happening.
6 years. Well, you got 6 years.
It's happening. By 2030, I'll be out of this country. I'll be with a wife, and I'll be deeper into my faith. I'll have the full Bible read front to back, and I'll be able to quote. I can already quote some Bible verses, but I'll have them off the top of my head and be able to recite them with ease. And she'll be there accompanying me, and I'll lead a healthy and successful life.
Nah, that's beautiful, man. I also want to acknowledge you for the fact that you said that your self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Because I also feel like people just want, but they don't understand that they aren't ready for it, or having that self-awareness to even realize that you are wrong, or even having that self-awareness to be like, hey, I understand I'm not ready to receive what I want because I don't have what it takes to be there, right? If we want to relate to your topic of relationship, is like, how I view it is I want to become the man worthy of my future wife.
That's what it is. Bingo.
Well, here's the thing. I heard it from a podcast. I forgot who, but they were like, write down all the things you would want from a future, like your future spouse, and then become them, because you ultimately attract who you are, or you attract your thoughts as well, right? Because mindset is a big thing. Once you start thinking about something, you're like, oh, now you start seeing them everywhere. It's like, if I tell you to look for red cars on the way home, I'll give you $50.
Exactly.
You'll be like, yo, I found 10.
I'm dying.
Give me $500. Right?
Yeah.
So it's when we actively start thinking and looking for things, it comes to us more naturally, but we have to be self-aware to get to that point.
That's the thing. A lot of people aren't self-aware. They just be like, I want this, this, this in a spouse. And then whatever I am, my spouse just has to deal with it.
Exactly. And then it's just like, you want someone who's funny, good looking, fit, and has, I don't know what would be another example.
Ambitions.
Like goal, drive. But then if you look at yourself,
And you have none of that.
do you have that?
Yeah.
So how do you expect how do you expect the other person to have what you want when you don't even know what you want and have what you want? Because at the end of the day, I can't expect her to have all these when I don't even have them.
Literally, because I heard this quote from Andrew Tate. I know, a bit controversial, but he does have important things. He does say stuff that actually does improve masculinity and instill confidence into young men. He said, if you're a woman with all the options that they had at their disposal, would you pick you? Like, would you pick yourself? And then it really got me thinking, because, like, realistically, yeah, like, all these women have so many options to pick from. For you to actually stand out, you have to be someone of significance. You have to be not fully yourself, but like confident in yourself, confident in your abilities, a man that's worth being with. So it's like, if you're not gonna put in the effort to be that person, why would just your future wife or women that you're trying to appeal to try to attract themselves to you? Like, why would they even look in your direction if you don't have the qualities to be able to showcase that you're a leader and you'll be able to lead and provide for them?
No, yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I get that. So anyway, I just want to acknowledge the time and the wisdom you spent here with us today, talking and like sharing your life experience and your mindset on how you approach and think things. Final 2 questions for you, Henry. Number 1, living the life that you've lived and all the experiences and challenges that you went through, what would be one piece of advice you would give yourself if you could go back in time and talk to your younger self?
If you go back in time.
One thing. I know there's a lot of things.
Yeah.
One thing, the most significant one, the golden rule you would tell yourself.
Follow God. Realistic.
Follow God.
Follow God. Because if I was actively seeking God at a younger point in my life, everything else would be so clear. It'd be so clear. The path I would have, the understanding that, okay, once I have my faith and deep into religion first, then everything else doesn't matter, or everything else can be aligned. Because the big thing, there's a verse within Matthew chapter 6, verse 33. Seek the kingdom of God and live righteously, and everything else will fall into line. Like, everything you need will be taken care of if you follow God and repent. I'm telling you. If I teach that to my younger self, my naive younger self, like, it would be instilling that, because then I'd have that level of discipline to not only continue learning about my faith, and then that's another aspect of discipline that I can build upon, of where I'll be able to install habits and learn about things that I know now, but at a much earlier age.
Yeah.
So I put myself in a much better position to be successful even younger than I am now. You know?
No, that's powerful. Believe in God. Follow, because He'll give you clarity.
Follow God. Literally, all my watches are engraved. And the back of this one, it says, I could take it off and show it, but okay, I'll take it off and show it. But this one shows, all of them are engraved, but at the back one, this one says, have faith and follow God.
Oh, word. I see that, yeah.
See it? You guys probably won't be able to see it, but yo, I'd have to like zoom in, but yo, we'll get the zoom in afterwards. But all my watches are engraved with either a Bible verse or actually relating back to following God. And it's not just, those Bible verses you see and you don't even understand what it means. Like, bro, I've read these Bible verses. I've read the Bible. I'm not done yet. I'm only on 2 Kings, which is it's not. No, I don't even think it's halfway yet. I don't even think that's halfway through the Bible yet. Because there's still a big portion. But I did read the New Testament. So I feel like, okay, yeah, I'm more than halfway through the Bible. I can confirm. sorry. I have to think. Because I started with the New Testament first. If you guys have the Bible app, you guys know about the daily Bible plan. Like, it starts with the New Testament first and then it goes to the Old Testament. So, like, I'm more than halfway through the Bible. So.
Second final question, Henry.
Second final question. I'm ready.
We went back in the past on the first question. Now I'm going to be talking about the future. Henry, what type of impact do you want to leave on the world?
That's a very good question. And I'm not gonna lie, I actually don't know. I do know that I want to leave a lasting impact within the people that are close around me, within the relationships I have, whether I'm able to support them in their business ventures or their personal lives, or bestow upon them some wisdom or some of my own personal experiences to help propel them forward within their life. But in terms of leaving a lasting impact on the world, I genuinely don't know. And I feel like if you ask me that in 5 years, I'll have a more definitive answer. By 2030, when I'm out of here, when I'm out of this country, I have my wife, God willing, God's plan. If everything aligns well, if it aligns within God's plan, let it happen. If it's not gonna happen by that time, then let it happen according to God's plan.
Henry, it's been a pleasure.
It's been a pleasure, Vincent, man.
Been a pleasure. Thank you for your time. I want to acknowledge you once again.
Thank
your
you.
time, your wisdom.
It's been an honor
to be here, talk to everyone, for everyone to listening. I hope every one of you at least got something out of today.
Hope you guys enjoyed. Hopefully, I'll be back here once again if Vince will allow me. This is a wonderful first installment of the Mindset Journaling podcast. Happy to be a part of it.
Thank you, everyone, for listening today, and we hope you enjoy and you learned something new today. If you haven't already, be sure to like and subscribe. And if you're listening on podcast, streaming, video, audio,
Spotify, Google Play, the
There you
Apple
go.
Store.
there you go.
Yeah.
Finish my outro for me. Finish my outro for me.
Yo, make sure you guys just tune in for next time. There's going to be even more guests in the upcoming videos, as well as more topics that will dive a bit deeper than what we discussed today.
Yeah. Once again, like, subscribe, follow. And then until next time, my friends, take care.